This describes me and my friends in our last year at high school. McGuinness and Creasy, and to a lesser extent Michael, are reading Marx, like most bright 17-year-olds blessed with enough leisure. It's all subversive heroes and all-powerful villains, with an underpinning of pseudo-mathematics expressed in the dense language that's irresistible for humanities students. They can't see yet that it's all over. Marxism, European philosophy in general, rendered obsolete with the birth of Elvis Presley in a shotgun shack in Tupelo, Mississippi on January the 8th, 1935. As the old world fired their Sputnik out and died, he and a Sideshow Alley entrepreneur used African sounds and Nazi recording technology to throw the switch between capitalism, sex, and the United States electricity grid. And as children we heard the thunderclap blaring from tannoys out across the beaches, even here on the primitive edge of the world. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, immutable, impervious to analysis, as new as the first virus triggered by the first lightning strike in the first rock pool on the face of the earth, an unstoppable mystery. Nobody could say what it meant, but everyone knew. The fierce coastal women who left school and don't read except under the hairdryer, marking out their men for life in the violent little hotel, motel, beach bars, they knew. Thank you.
I just realised that Dom was using my copy of the book, which has various notes in it, and I was thinking, I hope I haven't written anything untoward in pencil there. He didn't seem to open the page anywhere too troubling for me. So, I guess I wanted to ask the kind of first question, the obvious one about writing memoir, and that's the potential effect you can have on other people's lives, and basically how memoir writing can fire right back at you. It may be a little bit early yet to tell how much that could be the case, but I was just interested to sort of hear from Stephen and Don how they felt about that just prior to putting their manuscripts in, and if they held back or let all guns blaze, as the case may be.
Oh, well, you know, as Don said, his is more a sort of stream of consciousness sort of thing about his life. So mine's you know, mine's more cheap and nasty. No, in all honesty, I actually am so stupid. I didn't actually think about that part of it, and so I didn't think about that. And someone said, what about these girls or whatever, Parkdale girl or whatever, who's a character in the book, contacts you again. I thought, oh my God, I hadn't thought about that. And so, most musicians and artists are pretty selfish and don't actually really think about anyone else but themselves, I've found in life. And though Steve Kilby on the radio last week, was sort of in Melbourne, gave me a serve because I said, he took drugs, which is like, after you've been singing for 3 hours and you have your producer nod off on the desk while you're singing, and he's getting paid about 10 times more than I am, then I think I've got a right to say it. Also, because it depends on your moral thing. I don't have a problem with drugs or anything like that, so to me it's nothing, but to someone else it might be something. It's just sort of like, I don't care. They can do theirs. Or the only thing bad thing I've had was my brother-in-law, because I wrote that like my mum, who was really nutty, used to drive around, because my sister was a nurse, and used to drive around and see if her boyfriend was sleeping with her, like if she'd stayed the night. He'd stayed the night. She was crazy. And then I put in the book, which is how I had it explained to me, that then she rang up his mother and said, "Your son's sleeping with my daughter. What are you going to do about it?" You know? And next thing you know, they're getting married. So, anyway, he wrote me an email and just said, "It didn't happen like that at all. Your mother wrote a really nasty letter and blah, blah, blah," and, you know. And I said, "Oh, well, I'm sorry, that's how I've always heard it." But, yeah, that's the only real reaction I've had so far, Mark.
Okay, I was interested because near the start...
I don't even like him, so I don't care.
Well, that's probably just... I
don't like anyone in the music business.
But near the start of the book, you talk about how really you... part of the reason you got involved with music and performing in a kind of contradictory way is because deep down you wanted people to like you.
Yeah, for sure.
And yet there's a lot of stuff in your book that is likely to make you enemies as friends, in the frankness with which you talk about, well, you know, joking and talking seriously about Nick Cave as the... I forget.
There we go again.
Yeah, couldn't help myself. The King of the Rainy Day, the Steve Kilby thing, which brought up, Michael Gudinski. I mean, it has been described, I think, as a take no prisoners kind of book. And I guess I just wondered about that sort of feeling in you in relation to how you kind of deal with that antagonism.
Oh, wow.
Come what may.
No, it's just things I'd like to get straightened out. I think because Michael Gudinski never ever mentions that we made him all this money and we got him the biggest deal he had, and he, you know, talks us down, and I just think it's bullshit.
Yeah.
The fact is it's not true. And, you know, the whole music business, you know, they did like sort of, you know, what is this... Rock Hall of Fame or Australian, what is it? The ARIA Hall of Fame, whatever. It's called. You probably vote for it. Yeah. You know, it's not even got the dingoes in it.
Yeah.
I mean, all this crap. The good thing, what Don said before, I think is really true, is the good thing about rock and roll, it became fucked when it became in the art pages and things like that. It became more. When it was just an uncontrollable thing, it was really great.
Yeah.
And then when it got more controllable by companies and it became things you can make money out of and stuff, then it became sort of... I mean, you wouldn't go to the... what's the big entertainment centre out of town where the Olympics were?
Homebush.
Homebush. Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't go to Homebush to see music. Yeah. I mean, people do, but it's not about music. It's about buying T-shirts. Yeah. It's not actually about music, is it?
Okay, well, I'll leave that one open on the T-shirt question for a minute and cross to Don, because there's a lot in your book that's kind of submerged, and there's a funny kind of energy sometimes where you seem to be talking about things and kind of hiding things at the same time in a funny way. Maybe hiding's not the right word, but where you're trying to not say too much.
No, I think I'm portraying what it's actually like. I mean, at any given moment in time, any situation. I mean, if you were writing about this room here in a memoir in 10 years, you would write, you know, you could write it the helicopter view. You know, you could find out later that a whole lot of people attended that I don't know they attended now. You would know a lot more about the situation in 10 years than you do now. But if you're actually writing first person, present tense in any situation, there's a lot more that you don't know about any situation when you're actually there. You don't have the helicopter view. You're just moving through, you know, moving on this track like a blind worm, and you've got the train view, not the helicopter view. So I'm not intentionally hiding things. I think what's happening there is just a much more accurate portrayal of what it's actually like to be there.
In any case, I was just also wondering about like rock and roll. Obviously, it's Rock and Roll Lives is the theme of the panel today, and the rock and roll memoirs, obviously, again, how much rock and roll you feel in some way either influenced the style or your attitude in terms of writing the book, if there was anything about it that kind of filtered through. I mean, obviously it's a part of your lives, but I wondered if there was more than that, like particular influences that you might cite or sense a connection to. No?
Well, it's rock and roll has been it's quite central to my life, and you know the people I most admire have often been people who did live rock and roll lives, and in my era they're getting fewer and fewer. But you know, it's the compelling thing. It's not the only thing I believed in, but it's a compelling thing that I always believed in. I mean, very few people, a lot of people think they've seen rock and roll, but they haven't. Very few people have actually stood in a room this size in front of a rock and roll band, and that is a primal experience.
Well, because people don't... Well, I totally agree, because people don't know how loud it is, because they get so used to... like everything coming through little speakers and crap like that. But if you're in a room this size of a rock and band, it's a physical thing, isn't it?
Yes, and it doesn't even have to be loud. There is a power in rock and roll that's far greater in the sum of the parts. And I can clearly remember the first time sitting on stage with a bunch of mates and pounding away on what we'd always done, and we seemed to tap into something. Some power grids thing seemed to, you know, the whole thing took off like a 747. And once that happens, of course, you know how you can kind of do that the next night. And it's like we're looking at each other thinking, what's happening? Are you doing this? I'm not doing this, you know. But it's a shame that you have to play together for 5 years before that happens. But once that happens while you're on stage, once you've stood in front of it and seen other guys who seen bands who can do it, you know, it's a life-changing thing. It is a thing that you can believe in, and it gets squandered and debauched and watered down by, you know, all these other things that we've mentioned, like art and politics and stuff like that. That always waters it down. That pure thing, which is just about electricity and sex. It's not about lyrics. It's just a primal force that hits you in the chest. I could go on and on. It's been central to my life to answer Mark's question, and so it finishes up being quite important in the book.
How about the nature of the memoirs too, as the kind of burning off, where you're kind of clearing away a lot of stuff from the past, either consciously or unconsciously? Do you feel that way about the books now that they're out there?
Yeah, made me think about a whole lot of other things. Mainly, it made me think more not about music, but it made me think. I thought, I wish I knew more about my father.
Yeah.
But that was one of the main sort of things that I thought of. I thought, but you could also, like, maybe a good time to stop then. Put a full stop on it. Mm-hmm. Or I thought, what the fuck am I going to do now at this age? I'm not rich like him. Mm-hmm. Big house in the city. I don't know. It's sort of. I don't know. I was just trying to write a sort of heterosexual version of a David Sedaris type book. Mm-hmm. You know, that was my aim. Very simple.
Don, how about you?
What was the question again?
Yes, one of my long ones. Just that whole idea of burning off, you know. It just seems like you're kind of burning off the past in a way in memoirs. You're sort of, you know, maybe getting rid of a lot of stuff.
Oh, no, it's not like taking out the garbage. It's not. It's and neither is songs. Although sometimes that unintentionally happens. You know, or a song comes out and it seems to even out an old problem. But I was going to mention that last week I got Steve's book in the post, and because I'd asked the publishers to send it up, and I must admit I opened it out of a sense of duty to prepare for today, but it sucked me right in, and bang went the next 5 hours of my life, and I was very, very busy, Steve.
Very good. Good on you.
There went that afternoon.
What a nice...
Because it's a fantastic read. It just gets you straight in by the nose, and it's very, very witty and well written and wicked. And unlike me, I've been careful about people because pretty much all the people in my book are not famous people. So I try and change names and juggle things round so that nobody will get hurt. Steve sinks the slipper in every second page. And it's wonderful to see somebody who's not tiptoeing around.
Well, there you go. I'm
yeah,
sure it'll come back to get me, though. One way or
I see
another.
Michael Godinsky coming in with an axe, but the gentleman in the white shirt.
Curious as to how different you find this sort of writing prose to songs, and if they are to the same sort of
The gentleman's just asking how different prose writing and songwriting are, and if Don could talk about it.
Well, it's songs. You've got a lot less room to move. You're trying to pack a lot of power into a few syllables, and then those syllables have to hit the right pitch without sounding wrong. So it's quite different. With prose, you don't have to hit certain melodies in a sentence. And you've got pages and pages to go to explain at length whatever you're trying to explain. But if you spend your whole life exclusively writing songs, like I have, and then turn your attention quite late in prose, I guess I can't help. I wouldn't say that I've learned to write prose yet. I was banging, I was filling up pages without putting in punctuation. Inevitably, what I was banging down finished up being quite musical because, I'm a musician, not a writer. And I'm a writer of songs, not a writer of books. Maybe one day I'll sit down and figure out how to be a legitimate prose writer. Steve's a few books ahead of me in that. Or maybe, like right at the moment, I'm back on songs, so I'm quite happy there. No, there's no conscious payback in my book. I mean, I think you spend a lot of your youth and middle age, consumed with anger about a lot of things. I do, and I still have problems with it. But a lot of it you can eradicate by the time you get to my advanced age, and you have to even things out, let things go, realise that people are flawed, and there's nobody necessarily more flawed than yourself, which is, that's the plain truth. People try their best and they screw up all over the place, and you've got to just get past that. And if somebody screwed up and hurt you, well, you've got to remember how many people you screwed up and hurt on the way through and at the same time, and just start to. I think the greatest lesson you learn as the years start to peel off and you're over the summit on the other side on the downhill run, as my father says, is the just the pure value of humility in developing some sanity. And So coming at the book that I wrote, shots quite late in life, maybe if I'd done it earlier, I'd be chewing my tongue about this or that, but I haven't done that because I don't really have any lingering resentments about anybody or any scene. When I was young, I did. When I was young, I viciously hated most things in most directions, and wrote about it. But in song, that all evens out as you come to a bit of sense. I think that's my sermon for the day.
Mm-hmm. It's saint.
Stephen, how do you feel about the payback question?
What?
How do you feel about the payback question?
I just read a book called Payback.
Oh, that's true.
But I think it's called Payback. No, I haven't paid. I feel exactly the same as Don. I haven't paid back anyone. I don't feel. What I've done in my book is that's like a little bit of me. It's not like me. It's like if there's anyone important in my life, then no, you wouldn't know because I did steal that from the Bob Dylan book where I just say my girlfriend. Mm. I've had 2 major romances in my life and I would just always just say my girlfriend. My girlfriend did this, my girlfriend. Or blah, blah, blah. Because I had a job with both of them. But that's my kind of like private sort of stuff. So I don't really talk about... what you get from the book is that it's a funny read, it's a good read, but you probably don't get, you understand some things about me, but you don't really. It's like, I'm not insane or crazy. I think, obviously, we all hope we're going to get, better people as we get older and get saner and have less resentments, but the fact is that most people don't. That's why there's wars all over the world. That's why there's people who say, I love you, and then 2 weeks later, they dump you. So, all this good, positive stuff is kind of nice to hear, but the fact is that humans don't operate like that, from my experience. Sorry if it's bitter.
I was interested in the book design. Did you have, being both creative people, did you have much say in the cover and the design of their fights, or was it all quite harmonious?
I think it was Make Me Look Young and Handsome from the looks of the covers as well. Just forget the old guy stuff. She was asking about the book cover design, if you had a role in it at all.
I sent them 2 photos. I sent them a contemporary photo and I sent them a photo that had been taken in 1983, which I thought was valid because, my book finishes in 1987. So it's about that era. I left it up to them which one they're going to put on the front, which one they're going to put on the back. But, predictably, they put the young slim one on the front, but that's all right because it's it's contemporary to the book. For most of the book, I'm younger than this. That's me in 1983. A lot of people, a lot of rock journalists and people from Melbourne say to me, "Mate, you look just like Nick Cave, though."
No, you got more hair. You got more hair, man.
And I should point out that back when this photo was taken, Nick didn't look like that.
Maybe we've got time for just one last question, if anyone wants to ask something. Yeah, the fellow here with the glasses.
Yeah, what do you find most difficult thing about the process? Someone who's
They're asking the most difficult thing about the writing process for you as a non-seasoned writer. Yeah?
What?
You're on, Stephen. You're on.
I thought he was asking to...
1, 2, 3, 4.
What is it?
Let's go.
What did he say?
He was asking what you felt was the most difficult thing about the writing process, particularly as you... Yeah, I mean, obviously you've had more experience with Don working on books, but still, yeah, compared to maybe working on books.
Well, I just looked upon it as like kind of 20 short essays. I haven't got the brain power anymore to write a novel or anything like that, so I can only really concentrate for about 3,000 words, and then so I just sort of tried to think of them as 23,000 words, and then I could do it. And that's how I did it. The good thing about writing is it costs nothing. It's free.
Yep,
you can do
stationery. Most difficult thing for me was finally delivering what I thought was a finished book, and then having the editor ring up and say, no, you need to rewrite. Not much, just the last third, where you're hiding everything. And it was difficult. It's just really intense. I mean, it doesn't happen in music. In music, you go into a studio, you've got your song, and if the producer says the last third of this needs rewriting, or the engineer, you just ring your manager and say, we need a new engineer.
Thanks a lot for coming along.